So I am welcoming Elise Houston to the podcast, and she is a human design expert. Is that what we want to call you?
Yes, that is what I've been calling myself.
Okay. As long as that sounds about accurate for you. A lot of people, when they listen to this, they're going to say, what the heck is human design and how do you become such an expert? So I'm going to let you explain just like a little bit about what human design is, and then we'll talk about like how you came into this world.
Okay, so human design is a esoteric discipline, if you would,
Yes.
that was received as an 8-day, 8-night download. So by a man who had become to known as Ra Uru Hu. And he has since left this world, but he brought human design to life in the late 80s. So it's very much more recent than a lot of things like astrology or I Ching or
Yeah.
our understanding of chakras, but it does combine a bunch of ancient disciplines in a way that I feel allows people so much understanding into who they are. It's very, very impactful because, people are built differently, right? And when you walk through life expecting you to match other people and what you're perceiving of how their life works, it's not a great feeling, and it never works, right? You end up feeling bad. Like, what is wrong with me? But like, human design is a really, really great tool to understand yourself, because it gives insight into how you work as a person, and like your life just moves so much more into flow when you enter the human design experiment. And I love that it's called an experiment because you get to be the one to like try it on and try this and see what works and see what doesn't. And is this how I do things? What works for me? I super love that it's called an experiment.
I know for sure for me, that is how I have experienced it. It's just like, okay, what do I want to dive into? Do I want to just leave it on the side for a couple months and just come back to it? And just like allowing my intuition to say, hey, maybe you should look at your human design for that. So do you feel like people come to you for knowledge about human design? And what do you think is like the biggest reason why they want that?
Um, a lot of times people will enter my space and like the conversation about human design will happen because they're feeling stuck or burnt out. When you're working hard for little results, there's something that's out of alignment, right? When you're beating against the wall, trying to force something to happen and it's just not working, there's something out of alignment. And so a lot of times when there's the disconnect with the self or the struggle, that's when people show up into my space, basically.
Oh, so you never find anyone that just loves it? Because I feel like that's where I'm at.
Well, I
I
mean,
don't learn as much as I can.
to be fair, the other thing is I feel like it's a little bit different for me because I interact with so many people who are like already part of the conversation.
Oh,
And so there's definitely a difference between like who's in my circle of friends, who's in my professional network, who's coming to me for a session, especially since as a manager, I have multiple jobs and I like it that way, right? And so it's like,
let's start here because
yeah.
I'm also a management, but I'm an emotional manifesting generator.
Mhm.
I don't know if we'll talk about that today, but it's a good time to tell us like who is Elise, and then we'll go into how that makes the management kind of show up.
So my name is Elise Houston. I'm a 6'2" pure manifesting generator, which means that I am a sacral authority and not an emotional authority like Aubrey. Otherwise, there's some similarities. She's also a 6'2". Um, I
Yay!
my business is Firebird Image.
Mhm.
which leverages my background in psychology and the fashion industry. I got my master image consulting certification. And so I have super enjoyed helping people match their outsides to their insides. But the problem is, most people will start on the outside and you start on the inside because you have to connect back to yourself. And so
I
I've
like that.
also, yeah, so I've also integrated like healing and personal development tools so that you can heal your relationship with your appearance so that you can connect back to yourself. And it's from that place that you
Mhm.
match your outsides to insides. That's what
Yep,
I do
yep.
in my business.
I love it. That's amazing. So combining the Manny Jen thing, combining
Mhm.
two like passions and seeing them in a
Yes.
way that other people are like, how did that lady even think of that? Right?
Yeah.
Like,
And
and
I,
you
you
have
know,
to
I was
kind of
so
explain.
lost. I
Yeah.
was so lost for a long time. I didn't, know what I wanted to do when I grew up, right?
Mhm.
Like I honestly didn't think I would live to see adulthood, so I didn't make plans for adulthood. So then
Mhm.
I found myself in adulthood being like, what am I supposed to do? And I studied music and I studied psychology and I studied fashion. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna be a research psychologist, and then I can't afford a PhD. And then like all the things. And so it's been this crazy journey. And like in the moment, I felt so bad about myself because I was like, shouldn't I know what I'm supposed to be
Of
doing?
course.
Shouldn't I be on a career path? Right.
You're
But
doing the
like
6'2"
now,
thing.
now I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have such a wide variety of experience, of deep, deep knowledge, and I leverage all of it
Yeah.
almost like
Yeah. Oh,
so much of
literally,
it.
literally like 99%.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know
I'm like,
because I'm the
wait,
same
I don't
way.
I do music professionally, but you know
Yeah.
what? That's
Yeah.
fine.
It's still there. It's still got a
Yeah.
piece of you. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm the same way. Like
Mhm.
exactly the way you described, just coming up with having these passions and then at some point being like, wait a second, why am I living these separate passions? Like this is weird. Like at some point I was like, I'm going to combine my healing with that I'm so good at with this other part of me that's like an artist and just in love with being able to help people through things, and that's what I've done with this podcast and with my course. It's just kind of it feels so me, and I
It
will say,
is.
yeah, it's just totally me. And okay, so I was already headed on that route when I discovered human design, but what human design did for me was take me from a spot of being like, gosh, this is too weird. I'm just too odd, like to fit into this world, to being like, oh, that's why I like this, is because honestly, that's just how I'm built. Like I'm just
Yes.
designed to
Yes.
combine things in. Maybe it's a little different, but I feel like
It's
it's amazing. So I'm okay with it, but that's what human design did for me because I was already at a place of doing the deep healing on myself and had been for years
Mhm.
and just feeling really fabulous about everything. But it was just like an extra little acceptance of who I am, it's like a cherry
Yes.
on top, I guess, is what I love about it, if that makes sense.
That makes so much sense because it's like manifesting generators are not supposed to focus on one thing like we tell the rest of the world, right? Like just focus on the one thing.
Mhm,
Don't multitask. Don't
mhm,
like put all your energy into one thought baby at a time, and that's not how we're built,
mhm.
right?
It
And so
doesn't
it's
feel
like
normal.
mhm. And so to know that, oh, this is the way I do things versus the way a generator does things versus the way a projector does things and
Mhm,
how that flows, it just feels so good to be able to um live the way that you're meant to live, right?
uh-huh.
Like I'm allowed to do all the things. To that
Absolutely,
to that
absolutely.
extent, the other job that I spend most of my time um with is I work over at Elixology, which is
Oh,
Naomi Fox
yes.
Rena's light field astrology and human design business.
Mhm.
And so I actually started by working on the back end. I am Her Majesty of Operations, the operations assistant who is the Manny Gen grit and just like grind to Naomi's projector expertise,
Yes, uh-huh.
vision,
Mhm.
right? And then how many months has it been? I also started offering sessions.
Somewhere in there, I also started chasing my dreams while helping other people.
Basically.
Absolutely. That's the thing for sure. I feel you on that.
Mhm.
Do you want to talk a little bit about, maybe we should just get into what you saw in my chart, because I want people to be curious about what their human design looks like and,
Mhm.
just kind of understand that. And people that listen to the podcast, they pretty much know who I am. They've seen like kind of how I like to do things and how I combine things. And I just have like a different way of thinking about things. My perspective is a lot different. And that's like the biggest compliments I get from people. And to me, it's all normal, right? But
Mhm. Yeah.
I think it would be cool if you have my chart, if you want to like talk about anything on there. I know we talked about manifesting generator a little bit already, but just whatever comes up for you.
Yes. Okay. So we did mention that you are a manifesting generator, and we talked about that a little bit. And one of the most beautiful things about human design is that it's incredibly simple at the same time as being endlessly complex. You could dive deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. It's
Yes.
it's incredible how detailed and how complex that it can get. But the bread and butter is always strategy and authority. Like at the end of the day, you could research all you want about your personal chart and how human design works. But if you're facing a problem, it's probably comes back to strategy and
I
authority, and your
love
whole
that.
life just
Mhm.
flows when you're in there. And so each different energy type will have a different strategy. And then the authority will actually depend on your own individual um, definition, which centers are defined and which centers are not. And some
Right.
authority types are more common than others, some types than others, but it is more individual than just the energy type.
Mhm.
So your strategy is to, as a manifesting generator, is to wait to respond and then inform, right?
Yeah. I live it. I do. I do. And that some of that is getting like that yes, right? In the
Mhm,
sacral area. It's like a yes that, a lot of people will say,
mhm.
it was a gut instinct, or I knew I should do this, or I knew I shouldn't, right? Isn't that kind of
Yeah,
that
yeah,
part of it? Okay.
yeah. So the flow of strategy and authority is like you engage in your strategy, you check with your authority,
Mm,
right? And so for generators and manifesting generators who both wait to respond, it's very much a wait check. And like we get so much done because it's a very quick back and forth, right? Usually you do have an emotional authority, which we will talk about.
yes. Okay. And that shows up for me. And I actually I haven't dove into that as much as I would like to, because sometimes it does. So emotional, for people listening, and I'm going to explain it in Aubrey terms, is like I'm getting the yes, but then I never really feel like 100% yes. It's more like a yes, definitely. This is going to be great. You could see all the, possibilities. And then the next morning it's like, but what about then you have to kind of ride this like, yes, yes, no, yes, and it's a little confusing sometimes. Is that is that
I have a question for you.
uh-huh, do
Do
it.
you feel your feelings or do you think your feelings?
I
How do you
feel them.
experience
I
emotions?
feel I feel everything. I feel
Mhm,
everything. Absolutely. And so it's probably more dramatic. Now, when I think them, because of the subconscious release that I
mhm,
use, and that's what I do is I get rid of programs, I get rid of thoughts that come up. And so oftentimes if I do think them, I get rid of it. If I think it and I feel it with an
mhm,
emotion, I get rid of it, no problem. It's when it's just the emotion that is kind of
mhm.
it's a little much. But you know what? Looking back, like I said, I only found human design a couple years ago. Looking back to my childhood, 100% can tell you that it was way worse then. It was way more just
Mhm.
up and down and all over the place. And from the outside, my family members or my friends might see me and they might think, oh, she's fine. She's just quiet. She's just shy, you know? And the inside, it was, ooh. whew, it was crazy, and I
Okay.
would say that some of that maybe is the six, the six coming in and the
Mhm.
things I need to experience as a child. But go ahead.
Let's talk about the solar plexus. So the
Yeah.
solar
Okay.
plexus is what is, if your solar plexus is defined, that would give you the emotional or solar plexus authority. If your solar plexus is undefined, you would move to the sacral. If that's defined, that's your authority. So
Uh,
for Aubrey specifically, she has a defined sacral and a defined solar plexus. But the solar plexus takes precedence, right? That
oh,
sacral
okay.
is still going to give you the
Okay.
goodness, but like have to, it's in support of
Mhm.
your solar plexus response, right? And the solar plexus is not a clear cut, yeah, like the sacral, which is something that I love about the sacral, cut and
Okay.
dry,
Yes,
right?
yes.
The
This makes a
solar
lot of
plexus,
sense.
the solar plexus is a wave. And depending on how you experience your emotions is how you experience the wave, right? Because if you feel your feelings, then you're going to feel one way about the thing, and then another way about the thing, and then another way about the thing. And if you think your emotions, which I bring up because there are a lot of people who are like, that can't be right because I'm not an emotional person and I have the defined solar plexus. My
Ah,
husband is an
some
emotional
people.
manifester,
Okay.
but he thinks his feelings. And so he's like, well, what if this? But what if that? But what if this? But what if that? What if this? What if that? Solving all the
Oh
problems
my
in advance,
gosh. You know
right?
why I love this? Because like you just mentioned your husband. I'm married to a manifester, and my daughter, we only have one daughter, one
Mhm.
child. She is an emotional manifesting generator. I'm always sitting there like, I totally, first off, I hate to say it like this, but I can read her mind, like no problems. It's just one of those things that I do. But then also like with her emotions, oh, have mercy. It's amazing. It's an amazing
It's
flow, but
really
it's just
hard when you don't know what's going on,
yes,
right?
and I can
Because
see that.
people tell you that you should have more stability, right? They shame you if you're like, but first this way, but then this way, and now I feel this about it, and now I feel this about it. But the purpose of the emotional wave is to see things from all the perspectives before reaching a 90%
Wow.
resolution.
You know what?
Like,
I feel
okay,
like that's
yeah,
actually a good thing when you put it that way.
yes,
Because
yes,
I do
like,
tend to
mhm.
see all the different ways it can go, and I always think back to when Dave asked me to marry him and I said yes. And I'm like, I freaking knew I was gonna do it at that point. Like, and
Mhm.
believe me, I was in so much trauma after my first marriage and just a lot of abuse and just I left everything I owned. And I started anew and I was already engaged before my divorce was final. It was just like a roller coaster, like no one can even imagine. And yet I was like, no, this is good. Like, I'm like, it feels good. I don't feel like anything could go wrong coming from someone who's like, I'm never getting married again. So I feel like sometimes it does show up extra, like it's like, no, it's fine. You got it. You can do this. But other times with smaller
Mhm.
decisions, usually maybe business ones, maybe small relationship stuff or friendships or whatever, I feel like sometimes it's even more emotional and less concrete for me personally. That's just my understanding of it.
Another thing that can impact how your wave shows up is how much time you feel like you have in order to make the decision. Because when you have that solar plexus authority, please do not force yourself to make decisions right in the moment. If someone
Mm,
asks you a question, you do not have to say yes right away. You can say, hey, I'd like to think about this. And maybe you should do that first. Honor the wave, even if you also have that sacral
yeah,
response. You
yeah, I
got to
like
honor that wave,
that.
right? And so I know what really allowed me to witness my husband's wave and like just understand the wave so much better is when he had to make a major decision in a short space of time,
Oh,
right? Because um you still go through the whole wave.
it's faster though, right?
And you give yourself a lot of time, a lot of it's a more smooth ride because you have all the time you need to thoroughly examine each point of view without any pressure to feel all the feelings about it. But
Wow.
when you have a short amount of time and someone's waiting on you for an
That's
answer,
a
then
long
it's like,
day, let me tell you.
yeah. Oh my goodness. It was great because it
Yeah.
also allowed me to practice showing up as someone who is grateful that I am not an
Yeah.
emotional authority.
I
I love
know, I
being a
know.
sacral
It
authority. It's like,
definitely like, I don't wanna
I need
scare
to show up for
people
you.
away that end up being an emotional side. Can you only be
Beautiful.
emotional with
Mhm.
a manifestor or a generator? Or can you also be an emotional projector?
Um,
I've never heard it, but I don't know.
what defines so a manifestor and a projector, both of them do not have sacral definition, right?
Right,
And
right.
then when you are a manifestor, there is a motor to the throat. With a
Mm,
projector, you could have a motor defined, but there's no connection to the throat.
yeah.
So
Okay.
if someone had their the 3740 channel where their
Yeah.
solar plexus would be defined through the ego center or through the root center, they would
Mm.
still have that. And if it didn't connect to the throat, it would be projector versus manifestor.
Ah,
That though. So
could
yeah,
happen, I guess. I
wait,
mean, who
no.
knows?
Of course I've seen that before. Naomi is an emotional projector.
Oh, I see, okay.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, excuse me, ma'am, that's your boss. You should know
That is my boss.
that. Yeah, it's really cool. And I don't want people to like hear the emotional and be like, oh
Mhm,
crap. And be scared to like pull theirs up because it honestly like it's understanding it, I think is just a different level and it just helps you be a little bit more accepting. And it depends on where you're at. Cause for some
mhm.
people, they might be in the beginning of their healing journey and find it to be a little bit overwhelming to learn some of this stuff about themselves. Like, I'm kind of happy that I was kind of through most of it before I discovered my birth chart. Hello, or this. So I'm
You're
like,
allowed to be mad about it if you
yeah.
would like. You're
Oh,
allowed to feel all your feelings about
yes.
being a solar plexus
So
authority.
true.
But there's also a lot of beauty in it
Yeah.
because speaking as a sacral authority, I just get the yes, no, and I go, right? Like I can't tell someone, I can't like explain it. I haven't been through the process. And so to know that there are
Oh,
people who are going through the process and that they are like solving problems in advance. They're like seeing perspectives in advance. Like
yeah.
there is so much beauty and benefit to that.
Yeah.
Like it
It's exhausting though, I'm gonna tell you. It's exhausting, but it's fine. I actually really love it. Like, when we first got on the call today and you pulled up my chart and we're both like, it's so beautiful. I just find it so unique and so wonderful to like be able to learn these things. Is there anything else that you want to touch on? We talked about the authority and the
I actually want to talk about your incarnation cross.
oh, cool.
Um,
I don't know much
yes.
about it. So that's awesome.
I okay, so um
So
part of the
first tell us
reason,
how many
yes.
there are because I know it gets really
Oh,
confusing.
I
Like
don't
90
even
or
know. There's
100
a
or
bunch of
okay.
incarnation crosses. Like I know that it can feel cookie cutter at first to only take in count uh type and authority, right? What energy type you are and what authority
Yeah.
you are. Like you could um maybe feel like you're being put into a box, right? But
Yeah.
this is where the complexity of human design comes in and how many different pieces and what roles the energies are playing
Mhm.
for each individual, right? So I mentioned that, both of us are 6-2 manifesting generators, right?
Mhm.
Does that mean we're the same person? We have the same personality? We move through life in the same way? Actually, no.
No, but it's kind of fun.
And I mean, being a 6-2 and in a different phase of that process, it's helpful for me to be able to give wisdom from Aubrey, but we are actually different people.
Yes,
And part of
absolutely.
that is the incarnation cross. The incarnation cross is composed of your sun and earth energies. Those are the placements that create the energies in your incarnation cross. So they're very, very prominent. And so my incarnation cross is very, very different from Aubrey's. And that means that how we move through life, what we're here to be doing, how we see things, how
That's
we
so
interact with the world
different.
around us is completely different, right?
I didn't know this, so I'm very interested.
We both have left angle crosses, which means that our interaction, like the energy of the incarnation cross, is outward focused instead of the inward focused of right
Okay.
angle crosses. So we're here in part of how we move through life is how we're interacting and outputting with other people.
That makes perfect sense.
But
Uh-huh.
my cross is the left angle cross of upheaval.
Ooh. Don't sign me up for that one.
I actually love it. It has definitely been a journey for me to figure out how to make peace with it, for sure. But it's also been validating for me to realize that that's what was going on.
So cool.
Your incarnation cross is the left angle cross of education. And so not only are you the perpetual student, but you're also the teacher.
Oh, I'm
And
a teacher too.
yes, yes, you're the teacher. And with the left angle cross, sometimes you can have crosses that are very similar energies to each other, but they're separate. So you have the left angle cross of education 1. And specifically, you just get to share whatever is on your heart to share.
Oh my
And like,
gosh.
and we've only known each other for a short time, but the moment I saw your incarnation cross, I'm like, yep,
Oh
yep.
my gosh.
Even
No,
when it's not
because I
normal.
have to say something. I
do.
literally, like, just a couple days ago, I recorded a podcast and then I did a post about two totally separate things. And I looked at them later and I said, oh my gosh, I used the same words. I said, I just have to share with you what's on my heart today. I'm like, what the heck? And then you
Yes.
say that. So, yeah, hello. And I got to tell you, I don't like a lot of people know this, but when I'm ready to share something, it's because I'm just ready to share it. It comes up and I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. And I'm not even kidding, close to zero planning with my podcast, with anything I do, because I feel so strongly that the inspiration has to be in the moment and it has to be what is truly there. Like, I feel very much that I need to be authentic with that. And it just tells my story. So I can't be like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to talk about this. Like, it just doesn't settle with me like
Can I
that.
share
So
like what's going on in your incarnation
yeah,
cross
I would
chart?
love that because I've never even connected those two in
Oh my
any way
gosh.
whatsoever.
This is beautiful. Okay. So your conscious, so there are the two lines, right? Where you have defined gates in human design. You have the conscious line, and you have the unconscious line, right? So the
Right.
conscious sun, the unconscious sun, the conscious earth, and the unconscious earth. Your conscious sun gate is gate 12. And gate 12 is very, very expressive, especially verbally. And it's passionate and it's eloquent and it's words based, but
Okay.
it's also cautious. It will
Mhm.
not share until it is ready, and it has to feel recognized and safe. It's like you need to see me, and I need to know that I am valued before I'm willing to share what I have to say, and then
Yes.
I'm going to share what I have to say.
Dang it. Yeah, that really hits home because I spent a lot of years not sharing and not feeling safe. So I would say that absolutely makes sense for me. And I've never ever looked at that part of my chart. I never even looked
And
past
you
the
may, even with a left angle cross and having that sixth line, you may still identify as an introvert or come off as shy because you need to make sure
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
it's okay, that you're accepted here, right?
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
okay. That's how you're built, right?
Absolutely 100%. Like, if I
So
didn't have to do that whole trial and error thing as a child, I couldn't tell you that, but for sure, like, I had to feel that way. I definitely did. So I really love that. Who would have known it
Now,
was so interesting?
your conscious earth is gate 11, and this
Okay.
is the gate of ideas and creativity. Okay, it's like wild amounts of creativity, and it's having ideas, but it is specifically all of the ideas. Okay, it is more ideas than you can possibly run with. It's not even necessarily this is the solution, it's all of the solutions.
Okay, that sounds about right too.
Right? And so having in your conscious mind, oh my gosh, I have all of these ideas, and now I get to wait and I get to share what I want to share when I'm ready to share it, and share it in such an eloquent and expressive way. It's like people get to benefit from all of the ideas, whether or not you get to be the run that runs with them. You share those ideas,
Oh,
someone gets
yeah.
inspired and they run with that idea.
I always have that happen to me. I'll give people ideas and then they'll be like, I can't believe I ever thought about that, and just like run with it. I totally see that happening.
Your capacity for ideas is like, mine would be a pea, okay? And then yours is the ocean.
Ah, the that's crazy. And I totally see that. Absolutely see that. And I love it. But I've always felt like I have more there to share, and there's always something to share. And I just felt like I maybe had too much, but but now that you put it that way, like you said, even
Mhm.
if it's not for my purposes to, to better my life, it might be to better someone else's life. And you know what? I'm going to give them that then. Dang it.
And then your unconscious line is all about healing and love.
Are you serious?
Yes, your unconscious sun is love of spirit. It's very innocent and pure. It's unconditional love. It's very Pisces love. And
Oh,
so
I
it
love
can
Pisces love.
struggle when people show up unloving, right?
Oh,
It can struggle with cruelty because it does not
mhm.
understand anything but love, right? And then your unconscious earth is love of body. It's being
Yes.
in your body, it's moving your body, it's feeling your body, it's all of the physical
What?
self love.
So the unconscious part is the
Mhm.
deep down. It's kind of like my moon in astrology. Like it's kind of like the deep me, but not everybody sees.
Yeah, because it's just kind of behind the scenes,
Okay.
right? It
I
and all
guess.
four of these energies interact in a way, and like they support each other, and it feeds through that conscious sun, right? So you have all of these healing and love, like healing and love coming from your
Is there
unconscious mind,
anything
all
better?
of
I mean,
these ideas from your conscious earth, and they're filtering through gate 12
oh my
to be able
God.
to express that with others. So please don't feel like you have to have personal experience with a thing, or that it must fit this way. If it's on your heart to teach it, you get to teach it, and you'll have an audience. And like who that audience is, it doesn't matter, because the energy you have is there
Oh,
is a stage, I'm going to walk on it and talk at people, and the right people are going to hear.
oh my gosh, it's so crazy that you're saying that, because one of my biggest struggles with my business end is defining who that person is that's listening to me. And believe me, I know they're listening. I couldn't tell you who they are or why. I chose to do creative entrepreneurs because I do have a passion for both things. And I've seen that world, and I've seen that a lot of people don't realize that there's so much areas they need to heal in order to make their businesses work, because there's so many things that are off. And so
Mhm.
that's where I chose to put my voice. But sometimes when I get on the podcast and I have something to say, I struggle to be like, okay, I think this person does want to hear it, because I'm not really sure, but I know it needs to be said. So I'm like kind of yeah, just having to define that is really difficult for me. And that might be why, because maybe it's not so much about like that package of that person. Maybe there's other people that are streaming in here or there that also
And
need it.
maybe that's what they need. You
Yeah.
just get to trust that if it's on your heart,
Hmm.
you get to say it, even if it doesn't necessarily make sense with what's expected in your niche.
Yeah. I'm just gonna live that. That's it.
Yes.
I mean, I already kind of was, but then I was like, maybe I'll just take a couple minutes to explain how this might work for someone else, or
No,
like,
you have
but I guess I
permission.
don't have to. That's cool. I so thank you for this. I like literally didn't know any of that. I knew my strategy. I knew the, 6'2". I feel very connected to that. But this stuff is like out of what I was even expecting. And so it does settle so nicely. I'm like, dang, that sounds just like me. And, maybe there's a reason why I'm so passionate in these things. And, I definitely have the unconditional love thing. I'm like, it's tough sometimes, but yeah, I just love that so much. I just think that's amazing. Oh.
Good, because it's your chart. You're amazing.
Yeah. I knew I was amazing, but it's just fun to see that, right? It's just like, it's just extra exciting. And let me ask you a question, because we're new friends, right? You and I just connected a week, 2 weeks ago, something like that. Because I was looking for someone like you, and I had looked everywhere, and it never worked. And I'm like, what is wrong with me that this is not working? But that's probably why, because I was looking for this other person, and it happened to be you. And the thing is when you pulled up my chart, and knowing just a little bit about me, and then being able to talk with me and knowing what's on the chart, like, what does that feel like on your end? Like, does it feel like it connects fully? Does it feel like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what is that like as a human design expert, being able to do that with people?
I really love that you asked that, because so in working for Naomi and putting people through her certification
Mhm.
for astrology, and very shortly also human design,
Yeah.
um people will ask all the time about like the ethics of reading a chart of a stranger, right?
Oh,
Or
oh,
it feels kind of weird to have all of this knowledge about a person, right? But here's the thing. Um, you get to a place where you understand the limitations, and understanding the limitations is actually what like frees you to read the chart. I
mhm.
feel for me personally, it's like knowing that I can have all of this information about a person, but that doesn't tell me necessarily who they are. That doesn't tell me their life
Yeah,
story. That
yeah,
doesn't tell me whether they're a good person, a
right.
bad person. It doesn't tell me what they eat for breakfast. It doesn't tell me
Absolutely.
what they love to study in school and what they do for a living. It you're feeling into the energies that are
Mhm,
there. And
mhm.
then you offer those energies to the person as a gift to say, this is what I see in you. And they recognize themselves,
Yes.
and they get to be the ones to tell you, oh, this is how that shows up for me. And
Yes.
so it's an
Love it.
incredibly enjoyable experience for me to be able to connect with people in that way so deeply, and to help them feel seen, and to also, just learn about people and connect
Yeah.
with them and see their lives and who they are and how those things show up for them.
Oh, that's
Right?
so
I would
cool.
never pretend to be like, oh, I've seen your astrology chart and also your human design, so I know exactly what kind of person
Did you
you
pull up
are.
my
And
astrology?
I did.
Kidding. I'm just kidding. You can't look at that. I'm just kidding. Yeah, my
No, I did. Because so I have a lot of Scorpio energy. I'm a Scorpio moon and rising.
okay.
So I do like to like see what kind of energy I'm dealing with if I'm showing up for a person, especially on your podcast, right?
Right,
Like
right.
I had seen your name in groups that we're both in.
Oh,
But I didn't know you personally or what you were about when you reached out to me. So I'm
right.
like, okay, even if I just glance over, get her sun, moon, ascendant, right? Look at your human design, what, and use that as a filter for the request, right? It's like,
Yeah.
you're reaching out to me, this is what I'm like, okay, well, what? Need more information.
I'm just laughing because I'm like, I only gave that information to you like a couple days ago. And I
Mhm.
was thinking, I wonder if she's pulling that and being like, oh, I don't know if I want to work with her, or I don't know. I don't know if I want to do this, right?
The
Because you
other
have
thing is, I
to.
I know that other people feel the same way, and as someone with a lot of Scorpio energy, I respect that. Like, I get it. You wanna like have walls and masks. There are 1,000 good reasons and 1,000 bad reasons to do
Right,
that,
right, absolutely.
right? But even if there are energies that a person struggles with more than others,
Mhm.
I also feel like there's no such thing as a bad and good when it comes to
Yeah, and I think
signs and
people get
planets
that
and energy
wrong
types.
a lot. They
Mhm.
get scared about,
Mhm.
I personally, I can tell you that I early on looked up my birth chart and I saw the second house and I was very scared. I was like, what is happening here? And that's way before I dug into a little bit more and just understanding that's not necessarily telling a story. It's just telling like
Mhm.
maybe where you're coming from or what your perspective, how your perspective might shift and those kind of things. And once I just let that be and just put the faith in myself and in knowing where I've came from and how I've done, I let go of that. But I worry that sometimes people look at that stuff and just get scared, and just
Yeah.
run. And
Yeah. A
it's,
lot of a lot of the information about, well, human design, but especially astrology,
yeah.
is so filled with bias and ego
Mhm.
and wound,
I
and it's
know.
so hard to separate that out. You
Mhm.
you even do see this in the human design world sometimes, and I know for some people that I've had conversations with where that was their first exposure, it's a struggle to be like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm a generator, so I just have to work all the time and I don't get to do what I want. No, you're supposed to be doing exactly what lights you up,
Yeah.
and you should never feel like you're a drone for someone else's purposes,
Yeah.
right?
We're
I
the
had a
worker bees,
conversation.
right? So
Mhm, and I had a conversation with a manifestor recently who was like, the manifestor aura is repelling, right? It's a
Mhm.
safety mechanism. It holds people at arm's length until they know that they're safe. And so it's like she had all this judge, like she didn't understand um how how that could possibly be a good thing, right? And like had so
Yeah.
much wounding around people misperceiving who she is, what her intentions are, and just the kind of person she is, because she
Right.
came off standoffish,
Mhm.
right? And so I do want to acknowledge that you can find spaces and information that just feels gross. And please don't take that as
Yeah.
gospel, because humans are humans and they have wounds and they have ego and they have bias. And you
Yeah.
want to make sure that when you're engaging in any kind of information or philosophy that tells you something about yourself, that you're working with someone who can set aside their own wounds and
Yes.
bias, because everyone has them, to
Yes.
be able to honor who you are.
Absolutely. When I do my sessions with people, if I go in with any of my crap, it wouldn't work. Now I don't do it. So I know, but I'm just saying, like, I go out of my way to make sure before a session that I'm completely grounded and ready to receive whatever I need to during our session, because yeah, I can't take my stuff in there. If I'm having a bad day,
Mhm.
no, I can't do it. And I don't. But that comes with like
And it's
years
like,
of learning how to do that.
and it's crazy because when like I'm offering these sessions, astrology and human design for other people, it's like,
Um,
okay, I know that my ego and my wound gets triggered with these energies. And
yeah,
I still like, there's no bad or good about it. It's my wounding, right? And so no, even knowing in advance, oh, this is what I'm going to be working with,
right.
allows me to then take care of me and like ask my
That's
ego to leave the
cool.
room and be like, I get to set aside all of my own stuff for the next hour, for the
Yeah,
next
yeah.
2 hours, whatever. It is
Well,
helpful for me. So
yeah, no, yeah, I love that. I think that's awesome.
I am a human too, unfortunately.
We all are. And, being in the healing world, you just really have to have a grasp on that, or I think that
Mhm.
could make or break you. And because people can tell if they can trust what you're saying, or if you're coming in with your own
Mhm.
stuff, or if they're serving anything other than that person. I think it's very obvious for people. um I don't do that, and I pride myself in it, because man, I could just get right into the conversation, and just, people have to share things with me that they don't share with other people. They have to. They feel like they can, and therefore they do,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
I just have to be able to be there for them, and I love being able to do that. And then when I'm done, I'm like, okay, what did I need to work on? And I disconnect myself and get right back to whatever mood I was in.
I think, especially when you end up working as a healer, you've also been on the receiving end, right?
Oh yeah.
Of so many different people. And it's true, like even if you're not aware at the time, like conscious about it, like you can tell, you can tell when a person is bringing in their own stuff. And that
Yeah.
can be so incredibly damaging.
Mhm.
It can be wounding to bring in your own
It
wounds,
kind of, I
right?
think sometimes that would give people a poor taste about what the healing world is all about, because they have those experiences with some people. And that's hard, because some of them are very talented and very gifted, but it's part of having to learn and grow through that, I think, right? Oh, this is so wonderful and so amazing. And I want to find a way to say this without sounding like egotistical, but I just love learning about myself like so much.
There's always more
From
to
other
learn,
people, and just like, I'm not sorry
right?
about it. I'm gonna tell you right now, I am not sorry about it. I just love it. I think it's so amazing. And I just always want people to have that much um motivation and inspiration to learn also about themselves on such a level, because I just find it to be like the most amazing thing ever. So I super appreciate your time. I just thank you with all of my heart, because I love
Thank
insight.
you
I
for
love
having
having
me.
conversations. Absolutely. And I will put like any of the information you sent me about, is it Firebrand? Fire
Firebird
Bird
image.
Image. I will put all
Yes.
of that in the notes of this, so that people can reach out if they want to do a reading. And I look forward to our future together, because we're going to be
Thank
friends.
you.
And we're gonna partner on different levels that I haven't told people about yet. So I'm just super excited about it, and I just think it's amazing that you're also a 6'2" Manny Jen. I just think
Thank
it's fun.
you. And thank you
Okay.
for having me. And this is my passion too. So
Absolutely, absolutely, and we can tell. So I super appreciate it. All right, let me stop that.